Hello, my name is Julie McCarron-Benson and I'm in my honours year in the Faculty of Arts and Design at the University of Canberra. Only 35 years after completing my BA, and I was a mature age then. I'm an artist, for many years specialising in portraiture. Many of my other works explore women's rights, inequality and other social justice concepts. In this exhibition, Cavorting, I explored the social phenomenon of sexist ageism and how it is often referred to as the invisible age. And in this exhibition, I explored women and bullying in the workplace and drew the victims naked, exposed and attacked from all sides. And in this little series of works called The Invisible Invincibles, it featured the army of women who hold the country together behind the scenes, all volunteers, all ancient, all ready with a helping hand and usually a cake. In my spare time, I wrote and published books. And here is a collection of 6 novels in that arena peculiar to women's business, the wedding, featuring a female wedding coordinator as the strong female lead, with the male characters in supporting roles. Then I could no longer paint. I had injured my right arm. I needed another outlet for my creativity, and last year, 2024, enrolled in the Graduate Certificate in Screen Development at UC, fondly thinking that I would learn how to write a script and maybe adapt my novels into a TV series. And here I found I could turn my written words, my stories, into visual pictures, stories on screen. Almost an epiphany. I could combine visual artistry with writing by projecting my stories visually and throw in a little bit of social justice along the way. My creative pursuits and recently lived experiences have driven me to undertake this honours research. According to the 2022 census, Australians aged 65 and older constitute approximately 17% of the population. In film and television, later life is often portrayed humorously as a period dominated by medical appointments, funerals, and occasional family visits. However, closer examination reveals that many older individuals are entering and exiting relationships. This trend highlights the increasing longevity and continued engagement in behaviours commonly accepted amongst younger generations, which society has largely overlooked. It has become evident that our society lacks sufficient cultural models for understanding or responding to romance occurring in later life. Historically, people did not experience rich, fulfilling lives for as long as they do today. In contemporary times, social norms are frequently conveyed, generated, or affirmed through television, film, and social media, making the representation of older individuals in these mediums critically important. I feel obligated to find some way of righting the situation. My creative experience as an image maker, along with my personal experience of romance in later life, has led me to my honours research question. How can screenwriting and film production techniques be used to challenge ageist and sexist portrayal of mature-aged women in cinema? The title of my proposal is At Any Age, an exploration of the depiction of elder-aged romance, particularly of women, in romantic comedy. This creative practice research will have 2 major outputs: a creative research portfolio, including a short film script, pre-production documents such as directors' and producers' statements, statements of themes, synopsis, sound and production design brief, examples of film locations and ideas around casting. And secondly, it will include a written exegesis that contextualizes and analyzes the creative work amongst current academic scholarship from disciplines such as film studies, gender studies, and creative writing. The logline for this short film is: after a grandmother, happily divorced, reunites with an old beau at a funeral, a group of similarly aged friends decide to gate-crash funerals in the search for true love. My creative research is grounded in a constructivist philosophical paradigm. This is a qualitative theoretical approach through which knowledge is acquired and explained by studying multiple and varied observations of experiences and perceptions of the world. In order to present a view, the researcher must feel they comprehend the phenomena being studied, which means using some or all basic research methods. Using these methods, the researcher feels assured that they have captured the real facts of the phenomenon under study. Adome, 2019. My research is informed by seminal concepts relevant to film and media researchers, such as the development of the female gaze, which challenges traditional patriarchal dynamics by prioritizing subjectivity, emotional resonance, and interiority over the spectacle of body. Monami, 2025. The concept of a media representation, first identified by Hall to describe the complex ways in which the media not only present images, but how they actually engaged in representing messages that have multiple meanings, Hall 1980. This presents false images of women or stereotypes which damage women's self-perception and limit their potential. And conceptual mapping, through which to better explore the representation of women in film and how these representations relate to broader issues of gender, power, and visual culture. Hannah, 2019. These concepts will inform and direct my exploration of screenwriting and film production techniques as I consider how my experimentation with narrative forms, dialogue, and visual storytelling reflect or disrupt ageist and sexist narratives about romance in later life. My research methods include secondary research into existing literature to identify how ageist and sexist narratives about older women have emerged and been maintained in the film industry to date, while looking to exemplary film case studies that counter such narratives. This will guide my iterate creative research methods where I will try different film and storytelling techniques to construct empathetic lead characters to represent women in later life. A literature review. What an adventure! What joy! So many black holes to scramble out of. What a wealth of knowledge just waiting to be read, and no time to give them justice. The only way I could cope with the number of books, papers, and journal articles touching on this topic was to fall back and use an old management tool, Rudyard Kipling's 6 honest serving men technique, and develop 6 broad areas to give solid background to reach the most important part of my research, the how-to. Accordingly, I set out 6 overarching questions to direct how I would go about collecting the information to help me understand. What is the problem? The problem is the manner in which elder-aged women are depicted negatively in film, especially in romantic comedy. There is an overwhelming amount of material detailing the level of ageism and underrepresentation of elder folk worldwide, such as research by Nick, Ingram and Young, conducted under the auspices of the Journal of American Geriatric Society 2023. Westwood 2023, one of several researchers who discusses the invisibility of older women. Their representation on the big screen, as so many researchers show, is a minimal few opportunities and then often as negative stereotypical portraits. Other researchers examined by how women are portrayed. De Sutter and Van Bowel in 2023, for example, analysed 44 films, of which only 24 had one or more characters aged 60 or over. Negative stereotypes such as the golden ager and the shrew were frequently used to portray women, confirming the dominant negative attitudes toward older women and aging. So there is evidence that there is a problem. Why is it a problem? There is a correlation between what is depicted on the screen and its internalization by viewers. There is ongoing effect of the relationship between media depiction of aging people and film entertainment, including cinema, TV, and streaming services. Herman and Nielsen, 2015, draw attention to how older people are portrayed as a flow on the effect on how they are treated in elder care. The negative stereotypes they are assigned as a form of shorthand to establish social narratives and their use depict the elderly as impaired, disabled, and needing care. and are more likely to appear in the media as comic relief. The Gina Davis Institute 2024 discusses the effects of ageing women persistently being portrayed as frail, frumpy and forgotten, and the on-flow effect on the well-being of mature-aged women. The Institute has for some years run a campaign, "If they can't see it, they can't be it." It is also a problem that there is a general waste of abilities, skills and knowledge of ageing actors, as well as a loss of income. In an article addressing ageism with 4 older female actors, Raysborough et al. 2021. Generally, if they get work, they are often reduced to curtain twitchers. There are also significant differences in pay between male and female actors. For example, studies by the Centre for the Study of Women in Television and Film have found that actresses over 40 receive far fewer leading roles, which leads to reduced earning potential. Where is the problem? It is a problem wherever film entertainment is viewed, especially by impressionable young children. The concerns are that children exposed to negative stereotypes can develop ageist attitudes, lack of respect for older people, and anxiety about their own future aging, or view it as something to dread or avoid. Several authors discuss the need to create positive images of aging for young people, especially women, as roles to aspire to as the various generations age. Hant, 2007. Of major concern is the internalization by women by the coercive aspect of generations of negative stereotyping. Raysborough et al. 2021. When is it a problem? From the development of the first flickers, which were basically light shows or peep shows for men of women revealing their private parts, right up till today when not much has changed, despite efforts to make films family-friendly and include diversity. The negative portrayal of ageing women in film has been entrenched for over 100 years, evolving but still present in modern media. It is tied deeply to broader cultural issues of ageism and sexism. Women in Screenwriting 2023. Weirdly, strangely, in a juxtaposition, enthusiasm for showing young, nubile flesh, often when not required, the filming of mature-aged couples engaging in sex and showing their bodies is almost a taboo area. Sex between older people is deemed negative and unacceptable. According to Shonodi et al. 2025, because women have no authority or power and are only of sexual interest, older women's bodies are no longer young and are presented as points of ridicule. So who is responsible? Well, it's the individual who finance, write, direct and target a specific demographic for their filmmaking. Despite progress in diversity, the film industry remains predominantly male. The unique cultural, economic and structural aspects of film contribute to its resistance to change. The reasons are diverse and strangely familiar. It is the way things have always been done, part of the traditional patriarchal order, an automatic view of the world. At the bottom, the way things are currently done are box office successes and attract finance from investors. Why change something if it ain't broke? Laura Mulvey identified in 1975 a form of sexism that was specific to the film industry. She called it the male gaze. This is a perspective that presents and represents women as sexual objects for the pleasure of the male viewer. She suggested there were 3 aspects to the male gaze: that of the man behind the camera, that of the man characters within the film's representations, and that of the male gazing at the image. This is the way mainstream films reinforce traditional gender roles through their codes and conventions. They also teach women how to view themselves and how they should think and behave. How can it be fixed? Well, there's general acknowledged there needs to be change. Suggestions for how to effect change are many and varied. They range from changing the language used to describe women, Writers Guild, to Smith's 2022 idea of changing the plot line, to the training of male writers in empathy suggested by Carrie Purcell 2022. These suggestions and others for what needs to be done to create movies which provide a positive image smack of putting lipstick on the pig. What if all the suggestions are mere facades and superficial? The control by patriarchy and the pandering to the male gaze remains unchanged, just camouflaged like the pig to look pretty. What is required are concrete ways to deflect the male gaze, such as promoting more diverse representation, challenging traditional cinema techniques and narratives, including increasing the number of female filmmakers and behind-the-camera personnel, exploring new storytelling methods and raising awareness about the impact of the male gaze. An annual report by Lawson, 2022, shows a persistent lack of gender equity in key production roles such as directing, producing, and editing. Zhu et al., 2023, amongst others, argues that it is the gender of the creative team which ensures an accurate portrayal and interpretation of females, and the mature age actor in particular. Other researchers argue that the creative team, that is, the writer, the director, the cinema person, the cameraman, and the editor, at least two must be female in order to get that balance in portrayal, to challenge current stereotypes and expand the range of stories. This is particularly pertinent for improving the depiction of elder-aged women in romantic comedy. As a female screenwriter, my honours research allows me to explore the proposition that women's perspectives are best represented by women. Specifically, it will allow me to explore specific creative techniques that can leverage my lived experience in the storytelling. I am what is once referred to as a WASP, white, Anglo-Saxon Protestant. I know I was privileged to choose a family that supported and educated and nurtured me. I cannot write for others. I can empathise, sympathise, and imagine, but I have no knowledge of the true experience of lesbian women, trans women, Indigenous women, women of colour, women of other nationalities, women of faith. Therefore, my scripts can only be written from my perspective. I am hopeful that enough of what I write is shared or resonates with other women. All I can offer is that if I get the door open, I will hold it open for others to follow. Hooroo, and see you round the traps.